She walked like always, straight, proud, unshaken. Then the mud hit, hard. What they didn't know was that today the silence ends, and the street, the city, and even she herself will be forced to look in the mirror. The splash came first, a dull, wet explosion that slapped her side and rose to her face like a bitter hand. Warm rainwater and street muck ran down her blouse, soaked into the hem of her skirt, and spotted her shoes with dark, ugly blooms. The SUV didn't slow. Its white body gleamed even through the dust as it pulled away, its tires cutting a wet hiss through the grit. She stood still. The air smelled of oil, dirt, and something sweet left to rot. A boy on a bike passed, glanced, looked away. No one said a word. From the driver's seat, a woman with blonde hair and red lipstick laughed through the open window. Quick, sharp, like a cough, and rolled it back up without turning her head. Sarah raised her hand, wiped her face with the inside of her palm. She looked at her reflection in a broken store window. Brown skin muddied, hair once neat now trailing at the sides of her neck. Blouse clinging, not from rain, but from the weight of public shame. Then she moved. No cursing, no confrontation. Her steps resumed, steady and slow, as if nothing had happened, though the water traced down her calves with every step. At the bus stop, she sat with her knees tight together and checked her phone. Missed call. A calendar alert. Interview. 11:15. She called the front desk. Yes, hi, I'm on my way, but there was an issue. I may be 5 minutes. You're late, came the reply. They're waiting. The bus rattled up, its brakes whining. She got on. No one moved to give space. A child stared. Her bag sat on her lap, tight to her chest, a navy folder peeking from the zipper, and tucked behind it, a photo. A girl with a wide smile, 2 missing teeth, and a paper crown made from old construction paper. Sarah looked down at it for only a second. At the office, the fluorescent lights buzzed overhead like flies. Her heels squeaked against the tiles. The receptionist's gaze dropped to her skirt, then to the wet edges of her sleeves. You couldn't change, the woman asked, handing over a sign-in clipboard without touching her fingers. I came straight from... There wasn't time. The woman's brows arched barely. Well, good luck, she said, drawing out the last 2 words like a sigh. Sarah kept walking. Inside, people passed her like she was a ghost, some smiling with their mouths, some not looking at all. She stood near the elevator, smoothing down her blouse. The mirrored doors opened. Inside stood the woman from the car, the SUV, wearing a crimson blouse, gold necklace, white slacks, and that same laugh now softened to a smug hush as she turned to the man beside her. Who the hell let that woman in? She said. Sarah did not enter the elevator. She waited for the next one. Later, on the 3rd floor, she helped an elderly man who'd tripped on the hallway stairs. He had a cane and a paper bag and knobby hands that shook as he muttered, "Damn shoes." She steadied him, held his elbow. Careful now, she said, low and steady. Thank you, he breathed. His smile was small but warm. A security guard rounded the corner, saw them, frowned. You can't linger here. She fell. He almost fell. I said move. Sarah helped the man to a bench and stepped back. Good luck to you, miss. The old man whispered, patting her hand once before she turned. She stood by the printer. Papers slid out 1 page at a time. The ink smeared just a little at the corners. A young man from one of the newer departments passed by. He slowed, stopped. Hey, he said, uncertain. You okay? She didn't answer right away. She nodded, eyes still on the paper tray. He watched her a second longer, then left. Behind the glass walls, the office buzzed like a hive. Phones rang, coffee cups clinked, and Sari, still wet in places, still stained, stood by the window. The city outside was dull gold in the afternoon haze. Through the slatted blinds, a white SUV crawled by again, slower this time. The woman inside glanced up. They locked eyes for a breath. Then the vehicle turned and vanished behind a delivery truck. In the hallway, a voice called her name. She turned. An email had just gone out. Internal interview. No warning. No reason given. Is this for you? A coworker asked, puzzled. Sarah looked at the screen, her fingers tensed slightly, a twitch like cold. Guess so, she said. Back in the ladies' room under the blue light of the overhead bulb, she stood in front of the mirror, tried to rub out a streak of dirt from her skirt with a damp paper towel. It didn't budge. Her face showed no frustration, just a slow breath in, out. She looked at herself, really looked. Outside the door, someone walked past in heels, sharp, quick, commanding. Sarah straightened her blouse, pulled the navy folder from her bag, brushed her shoulders once. The print of a keychain dangled near the bag's zipper. Old plastic, faded letters. Be the storm. A gift from a student years ago. She ran her thumb across it absently as she walked. At the elevator, she pressed the button. Waited. Behind her, that voice again, smooth, crisp. Some people just belong at the bottom. Sarah turned. The woman was there. The red lipstick, the perfect posture, the clean slacks. Her chin raised just enough to look down at her. Sarah held her gaze. I haven't forgotten who I am, she said. A pause. Have you? The woman blinked, not expecting a reply. The elevator doors opened. Sarah stepped inside. Alone. And though the room she entered minutes later was too big, too bright, and too filled with people pretending not to notice her stained skirt and muddy heels, she did not pause. She took her seat, held her folder like it weighed nothing at all. The manager's voice echoed, Let's begin. Somewhere across the room, the woman, Gina, leaned against the wall, arms crossed. Sarah glanced once at her, then lowered her gaze. The paper inside the folder crackled softly as she opened it. The room fell quiet. You could hear the soft tick of the wall clock, the low hum of the air vent, and beneath it all, something else beginning. A silence, not of fear, but of focus. The kind of silence that comes right before the first drop of rain. The email had no greeting, just a time and a room number. 4th floor, back corner, rarely used. A glass box with a metal table and 2 plastic chairs. Sarah arrived early. The air inside was too cold, the kind that settled into her sleeves and made her fingers sting. She sat without removing her coat. The folder lay in front of her, not open, not closed, just there. Edges slightly bent from the morning. A wet streak still clung to its corner, darker than the navy blue. People passed outside the glass walls, moving fast, not looking in. She sat still, waiting. Her hands stayed folded in her lap, but her jaw moved slightly, grinding once, then still again. 10 minutes later, the door opened. A man entered, mid-40s, short beard, black tie. No introduction. Let's just talk, he said. She nodded. No smile. They spoke about logistics, about department overlap, about systems integration. Her voice was even, quiet. She didn't over-explain, didn't offer more than what was asked. You wrote this proposal? He asked after a long pause. Yes. Why didn't you submit it? She hesitated. No one asked. He sat back. The chair creaked under him. She could see he wasn't used to silence stretching between answers. People in these rooms usually filled the quiet. She let it stay. Outside the door, a laugh rang out. Familiar, high and polished. Gina passed by the glass, walking with someone important. Her eyes flicked inside. No expression. Back in the room, the man tapped his pen twice against the paper. All right, he said, standing. Thank you. Sarah rose, collected her things. She didn't ask what it meant. In the hallway, Gina was already waiting. Arms crossed, leaning slightly against the wall as if by accident. Was that your big moment? She asked lightly. Hope it was worth whatever that is, she added, glancing down at the mud-smudged hem of Sarah's skirt. Sarah paused, looked at her. I still remember who I am, she said. Gina's smile faded for just a second. Sarah walked away. The break room was empty. The coffee maker hissed as she poured herself a paper cup. The smell reminded her of late nights, grading papers by lamplight. Her daughter curled up on the couch behind her, soft breathing, the hum of the old fan in their small apartment. She sipped once, then pulled out her phone, opened a photo, a little girl in yellow pajamas, arms around a teddy bear. She'd asked once, Mama, can I be anything I want? Sarah had smiled, smoothed the girl's hair. Of course, baby. You too, the girl had asked. Sarah hadn't answered. She hadn't known how. Now she took a longer sip. The cup trembled just slightly in her hand. The printer near her jammed with a loud thunk. A frustrated sigh followed. She walked over, opened the tray, reached in. The paper had curled, overheated. She straightened it, restarted the job, stepped back. Thanks, came a voice. It was the young man from the hallway. I'm Malik, he said. Sarah. I saw what happened with the SUV. She didn't respond. My mom was a janitor, he added, shrugging. I know that look. The one people give when they think they're above you. Still, she didn't say anything. But she didn't walk away either. That afternoon, the conference room filled early. Chairs were pulled closer together. Pages rustled. Coffee steamed in white ceramic cups. Gina sat to the side, arms folded, expression unreadable. The air was sharp, too cool again. Sarah sat at the far end, a folder in front of her. The same folder. There was a pause before they began. One of the computers had crashed. Screen black, keyboard blinking. Someone sighed. I've got this, Sarah said quietly. Heads turned. She stepped forward, pressed 3 keys, rebooted the system manually. The screen flickered on. The room hushed. How'd you know that? Someone asked. I used to teach. Gina's voice snapped. You're not tech support. Sarah didn't look at her. The manager tilted his head. What did you teach? Physics, she said, soft but clear. Public school, before the cuts. No one spoke. She returned to her seat. Gina leaned toward the manager, whispered something sharp, clipped. Moments later, an email hit Sarah's inbox. Formal tone, policy language. Inappropriate conduct. A warning. She stared at it for a long moment. Didn't reply. After work, in the slow gold light of early evening, she sat on a bench outside the building. Her bag rested beside her, her phone untouched. People passed, looking at their screens, not at her. Her thumb found the old keychain again. Be the storm. A breeze stirred her collar. She closed her eyes. Maybe I should go, she whispered, not to anyone. But the breeze didn't answer, and somewhere inside her daughter's voice echoed. You too, Mama. The next morning, she came early, wore clean clothes, pressed shirt, shoes scrubbed. No one greeted her. She sat in the back of the large room where the logistics review was held once a quarter, never expecting to be asked to speak. But this time, her name was called. Sarah Johnson, Systems Analysis. A murmur passed through the room. She stood, walked to the front, laid her papers on the table, hands steady. She didn't apologize, didn't joke, didn't thank them for the chance. She just began. Her voice wasn't loud, but it carried. She walked them through her proposal line by line, chart by chart, clear, specific, no gloss, no fear. When she finished, there was silence, the kind that feels full, not empty. Then someone clapped, once, sharp, not hesitant. Others joined, chairs shifted. A few still looked skeptical, but most nodded. Gina didn't move. Sarah returned to her seat. As she sat, she felt it. Not victory, not relief, but stillness. Something had shifted. She didn't smile, but her shoulders settled. The silence held a second longer. Then the next name was called. The room moved on, but not quite the same. The office felt different, not loud, not rushed, just attentive, as if something invisible had been disturbed, and now everyone was pretending it hadn't. Sarah walked through the corridor with the same careful steps, but this time, people looked. Not long, not openly, but they looked. By the coffee machine, someone held the door for her. No words, just a glance and a nod. Upstairs, the senior partner, gray suit, gold watch, the kind of man who usually never noticed anyone not at his level, stopped her. That presentation, he said, that was the cleanest logistics breakdown we've had this quarter. Who helped you put it together? Sarah paused. No one. He squinted. Why didn't you send it in earlier? I didn't think anyone would read it. He grunted. They're reading now. Then he walked away. Later, in the break room, two women whispered near the microwave. One turned her head when Sarah entered. The other kept talking. Quiet, but not quiet enough. Not even in our department. But she made it look easy. They're giving her meetings now. Sarah poured her tea. Didn't flinch. On her way back, Gina blocked the hall. She looked polished but brittle somehow, like glass before a storm. You think you've won something? She asked. Sarah didn't answer. They're not your people. You don't belong here. A breath passed. I'm still here, Sarah said. Not for long. Gina stepped aside. At her desk, Sarah opened her email, a message from HR. Position opening, project coordinator, internal recommendation. Below that, a name. Hers. She stared for a moment. Her thumb traced the edge of her old keychain, warm now from her pocket. Later that week, the building buzzed, but not with office gossip. A video had leaked, grainy, shaky, a white SUV, A splash. A woman laughing behind the wheel. Sarah standing still, soaked. Gina. No audio. But the smile said enough. Comments came fast. Internal boards, emails. Then it went public. Local media picked it up. Corporate cruelty caught on camera. Her name wasn't mentioned, but everyone knew. Gina tried to downplay it, said it was taken out of context, called it a digital smear. No one bought it. By the end of the day, her office was dark. The next morning, her nameplate was gone. At the staff meeting, the senior partner cleared his throat. Effective immediately, Gina Larson has chosen to pursue opportunities elsewhere. No one asked questions. After the meeting, Malik found her in the elevator. They offered you the job, didn't they? Sarah nodded once. Good, he said. You'll make it better. She looked at him. Really looked. He added, That keychain's still yours? She smiled just slightly. I think it means something different now. Her office was smaller than most, but it had a window. Afternoon light came through the blinds in golden lines. She set her things down slowly. The folder. A framed photo of her daughter. A ceramic mug with a chip in the rim. She sat. Breathed. Across the hall, a younger woman was helping a visitor. A frail, older woman with a walker. Held the door. Smiled. Waited. Sarah watched. Said nothing. Later that week, she signed the paperwork for her new role. They offered a bonus. A generous one. She read the number, nodded, and slid the paper back. I want it redirected, she said. Scholarships for single mothers. Vocational training. Something that lasts. The accountant blinked. Are you sure? I'm sure. A few days after that, Malik and 2 other staffers began a side initiative. Visible work. They printed small flyers, started lunchtime talks, invited staff from overlooked departments, janitorial, cafeteria, clerical, to share how systems could run smoother. Sarah didn't speak at the first meeting. She sat in the back and listened. The building began to shift. Not fast, not dramatically, but something stayed open. On her last day commuting by bus, she stepped off early, walked the rest of the way. The sky was soft gray. The street was still damp from overnight rain. Same cracked sidewalk, same crooked sign, but the silence felt different. At the corner, a white SUV slowed as it passed. Sarah didn't turn. She walked straight, her pace steady. Her shirt was light blue, sleeves rolled. Her bag over her shoulder, not clutched. The SUV stopped briefly at the crosswalk. The window stayed up. Then it moved on. Sarah never looked. She turned onto the next street, feet firm against the pavement. A new rhythm. A new direction. Behind her, nothing called. Ahead of her, everything waited. And as her figure moved smaller down the road, carried by quiet strength, a single voice, whether in her head or aloud, it didn't matter, spoke with final certainty. I didn't come to get revenge. I just stopped hiding.